Hello, welcome. This is Wicliff Sakala, American Center Lusaka Director. Welcome to another of our weekly virtual sessions. Today we're talking about social media use, particularly how we can harness the power of social media more responsibly and more effectively. It's my pleasure to introduce our two speakers today, two social media gurus or experts. We have Towela Phiri. Towela is an entrepreneur and a digital marketer based in Lusaka. Glad to have you, Towela. Towela has been in the digital marketing industry since 2015, and she once owned a digital marketing company. Currently, she co-owns an online packaging supplying company. She's also a Mandela Washington Fellow from the 2018 cohort, and is also an alumni of one of our other U.S. government programs, African Women Entrepreneurs Cooperative. So it's a pleasure to have you, Towela, on our show today. We also have Andrew Simumba, who is an audio-visual digital tech expert with over 14 years of experience in communications and marketing. So Andrew works as our social media manager here at the U.S. Embassy. He's been with the embassy for almost 12 years now. So it's a pleasure for me to turn it over to Andrew and Towela as we listen into this important and exciting conversation about how we can effectively and responsibly use social media, whether we are social media influencers or social media entrepreneurs. Over to you, Andrew and Towela.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Wicliff. I'd like to really appreciate this opportunity that we have been given today, especially to share some of my experience and what I have learned on the job with people out there. And I really hope that people do get to learn or pick out one or two things from today. Nice to meet you, Andrew, and I look forward to our discussion today.
Thank you, Towela. Yeah, I also look forward to having this discussion with you, and also to share kind of like what we do from a U.S. Embassy perspective on and around social media, and also to give a few tips to people about how they can stay safe online and the do's and don'ts.
Okay, thank you so much, Andrew. So for me today, I would like to really concentrate on two main aspects. That is branding and audience engagement. I'm aware that we don't have much time, so I'm going to go through these points pretty fast, and hopefully Andrew can come in and just give us some experiences from the U.S. Embassy point. Okay, so the first thing that I would like to talk about regarding branding is having a vision for being online, okay? So when you have your social media platform, you need to have a reason why you're there. Are you there to make money? Are you there to build a following? Or are you there for the purpose of engagement with other people online and for people to reach you out easily? Another point is that many of us don't really have a field of expertise online. Today we'll be talking about fashion, tomorrow we'll be talking about cars, the next day about politics. So we need to really know exactly why we're online. It's part of the branding process, and also it helps even as people are searching for information online. So maybe, Andrew, you can share with us what the vision for the U.S. Embassy Online is, especially regarding social media.
Thank you. So for us, what we do is our social media is basically used for the purpose of getting kind of like our top level messaging, I can say that, and kind of digesting it in order for the common person to understand. So making it easier for everybody else to understand, removing too many acronyms, removing too much technicality and stuff. And then also we have a lot of programs that we do at the U.S. Embassy. We have programs that we do with, for example, you're a Mandela Washington Fellow, and I would like to think you must have seen the ad online, right? And so we get, So we get all that and we make it presentable to people. So our vision, kind of like in the beginning, it wasn't really easy, but then we asked ourselves, who's our audience? who's our key audience. And for us, we found that when we look at our statistics, most of the people that engage with us are between the ages of 25 to 35. And then it's just reducing as you go up. And then also we found that we had fewer females that were engaging with us online. So then we said, okay, we're going to pick a young person between the age of 25 to 35 with particular interest in females, so we can increase the level of participation of our female folk out there. That's not to say that the females were more important. It's just to say that we wanted to kind of leverage that in a space where it's more pro male than female. Yeah, that's that.
Okay, thank you so much, Andrew. I noticed you mentioned a bit of some demographics there regarding the people that you're reaching out. You talked about the young people, you talked about the women, and I know that the people who are probably wondering how do they get to know who is following them online, right? So this is what leads me to my next point regarding your audience engagement. Okay, so when you're looking at your social media techniques, you have to really be certain about who you're targeting. Not everybody can be your target audience, right? So you do have situations where people are looking to sell some fashion accessories online. Obviously, you know that you have got probably a certain age group that you're looking at. You're looking at people with certain interests. And the best thing is that these platforms that we use do have that information that we are actually looking for, because they have that data for us available online. But another key point that I'd like to stress is for us to really look at those demographics. We need to know who's following us, because at the end of the day, you will find yourself having this huge following who will not do anything for you, okay? So it's really important, like you mentioned, Andrew, to know why you're online, who you're targeting, and why you're targeting them.
Exactly. So sometimes it takes a bit of time, obviously, to know who your audience is, and then also to know what you're selling and who's interested in what you're selling. So give that time. Don't rush into going straight into paid advertisement immediately when you start. Kind of like give it that organic growth so that you get to know your audience, and then after you know your audience and you've gotten that organic growth, so you know your audience's behavior, what time they're online, what time they go offline, and what interests them.
Exactly. Okay, so looking at our next point, I think you touched on it a little bit. We're going to talk about advertising, because many people ask to say, how do I pay for ads? I'm on my Facebook, I'm scrolling on my Instagram, and I see this sponsored post come up. Should I do it? Should I not do it? And I think I just want to share with you about the different types of media that we have online, okay? So online, we have got what you call paid media, owned media, and earned media. Okay, so with paid media, those are the people that come to you because you boosted the post or you paid for an advert. Okay, paid media also includes Google ads. It also includes the adverts that you pay for on Twitter. It's not just about Facebook alone. Your earned media are people who share your posts. Okay, so people who look at your information and they share it with other people and they come to your platform. And owned media is basically what you talked about, organic growth. But what I want to touch here is the importance of organic growth as opposed to paid media. You see, when people are interested in your product or your service or what you have to talk about genuinely, it becomes easier for them to actually gain loyalty for what you're doing as opposed to paying them to be there. So this is just something that, again, looking at time, I can't get much into, but I'd really like to emphasize the importance of looking at your organic growth and not just rushing to pay for advertising or page boosts or post boosts at the end of the day.
Yeah, sure.
So
can I chime in a little bit? So if I could chime in a little bit just based on what you're saying, then let's flip it towards the side of the consumer. So you see that Towela here is a social media influencer that is now saying, okay, now I want to target more people. So now let me do paid advertising. So you as the person that's using that always need to know, one, what do these people want of me? When an ad pops up, it's not always that an ad pops up because no, there's something they want. It's a call to action. Okay, so you should always be very aware of what you're doing online, and be very aware of what influencers are trying to do. Same thing for influencers. You always have to know that you have a responsibility at the same time for what you're sharing online. Okay, something that might look good today might not be really a good idea next time when you look at it. So let's just have a look at those two sides of the coin.
Okay, thank you so much, Andrew. So I'll just quickly go to my next point on branding, and this is looking at your outlook. Okay, so that's your brand guide. I know that some of us do have logos, many of us probably don't, but I'd like to emphasize that branding is just as important online as it is offline. When somebody comes to your platform, they should be able to recognize you based on what you have. Okay, so basically, as a person that is doing marketing online, you need to also know a few basics about your branding. You need to know the color codes that you use. I know some of us may say, oh, my color is pink, but you know there are different shades of pink. So I'll just give you a bit of some homework. Go back and take a look and see what a hex code is. So hex code is spelled as HEXCODE, okay? Learn what your color hex codes are and also know your logos for your business. Never ever put up an image without your logo on it. If it's not owned by you, then do not put it online. If it's owned by somebody else, you have to state it because you may find yourself in trouble. Do not post pictures of products or services that you do not offer. And I know that this is something that the US Embassy is pretty big on. Maybe you can just share with us, Andrew, some of the brand guides that you use at the embassy.
Yeah, so it's very important, like you said, to respect people's intellectual property. And like Towela said, do not use other people's images. Always get an image that's relevant to the story you're sharing. Just because you're talking about soccer doesn't make it right for you to go up online and pull something that's not for public domain or something that you don't have rights for. However, there are things that you can do to get this content that you might not otherwise have. There are sites like Wikimedia Commons. Okay, still, when you share that image, they do give you the rights to share the image. However, you should credit the original author of the image, the original author of the music, original author of the video, and stuff like that. And then also, there are also other sites that you can use, like Canva, to do your branding. Okay, you can make quick graphics from Canva. And then also, if you have Canva Professional, you can pretty much find anything and use it because you've paid for that package.
Okay, thank you so much, Andrew, for touching on that. I especially like that you mentioned the tools that people can use. So I hope people are taking note and will go back and take a look at these items. Many things are actually free online that people don't realize. We should not just stick to Google alone and use Google Images. Let's figure out, let's do our research and find what other images or information that we can use online legally. Okay, so the next point I'm going to talk about, I think is the last point on under branding, is having a marketing persona. So what this means is that we know there are different social media platforms out there. We have LinkedIn, we have TikTok, we have Facebook, we have Snapchat, you can mention them, Instagram. But firstly, I'd like to mention we don't need to be on all of those platforms. Again, this goes back to the reason we're online. Who are we targeting? And secondly, if you find yourself on 2 or 3 of these platforms, you need to realize that the audiences on these platforms are different. So TikTok mostly has a younger audience. LinkedIn is mostly older and a bit more serious. So you cannot put what you post on Facebook should not really be the same with what you post on LinkedIn. It could be maybe similar imaging, but you need to look at your scripting. Okay. So Andrew, how many platforms are the US Embassy on?
Yeah, thank you so much. I was about to talk about that. So, of course, there are so many platforms that are out there, but then at the end of the day, you have to look at what are you using it for. So for us, it's kind of like a news outlet. I work for the public affairs. and in the public affairs, our job is to kind of like inform the Zambian public. So we only focus on two. So Facebook and Twitter. Twitter, of course, for the rapid sending out of messages, but if we want to reinforce, we do it on Facebook. We also have YouTube. We use YouTube for kind of like the lengthy videos when we have virtual programs and we want people to follow the virtual programs. We'll simultaneously cast them to Facebook and simultaneously cast them to YouTube as well. We also use WhatsApp for groups, closed groups, like for our American Center. We would have that WhatsApp group if we're organizing a program and we want to keep in touch with our classes, we would use WhatsApp groups. So those are kind of like the ones we really use. But basically on a day-to-day basis, my job every day in the morning is to wake up, get American policy, government policy, and then digest that and share it on Facebook and Twitter.
Okay. So I can imagine, Andrew, with all those platforms that it does get quite hectic trying to maintain a schedule for it, okay? And this actually leads me to the next point. I know people say, okay, I want to post online, but I have this busy schedule. How do I manage to do that? And it's very important to be consistent because the thing is, I'm pretty sure many of us have noticed that there are some pages we liked on Facebook, but we don't get to see the posts on those pages. The same could be happening to your page as well because of lack of consistency, right? So some other ways that you can ensure that you have that scheduling up on your Facebook or your social media posts is to use tools like Facebook Insights. You have Hootsuite, you have HubSpot, and the like, you can actually set up your posts even a week or two in advance. For some people, they do it actually a month in advance. But just remember that even if you schedule a post, you have to be available to respond to people's queries and to respond to them in a manner that is kind and the like. So, Andrew, with the U.S. Embassy, maybe if you wouldn't mind sharing with us how you manage to stay on top of information and to post as often as you do.
Yeah. It's really important to try and stay on top of everything and to be committed to respond to people's questions and to have a social media team. And I'm going to emphasize on a social media team that works. You know, just because I'm Andrew and my page is Andrew Simumba does not mean I should not have a team that keeps me in check. I need to have a team that keeps me in check. So what do? One person drafts and another person clears and sends it back to the drafter to post. So that way mistakes are caught before they go out. Not all mistakes may be caught, but then you reduce the number of mistakes that are taken out. And also you have a second set of eyes looking at what you are about to post. You know, it's very important for you to think, okay, we're about to share this. Sit down with your team, 3 or 4 people, and say, guys, what do you think about this? Is this inflammatory in any way? Will this come back and bite us in any way? So are we okay to share this? Right there on the table with 4 different views, you'll be able to get your answer. One of you says no, immediately don't push back if one of you says no. It means probably it's not such a good idea. So we use Hootsuite primarily. Okay. That's yes, we use Hootsuite. So if with Hootsuite Enterprise, you can set up a whole team, and in that team you'll have people that will draft and then people that will clear. So I don't need to send you an email and tell you, oh, I've drafted this. No, I just have to draft it and set it up in Hootsuite. Then you will go in and approve. If you don't approve, at least send me a comment as to why you didn't approve. Then that way I learn what we should be posting and what we shouldn't be posting. But it's very important for everybody out there to have a team of for social media work.
Thank you, Andrew. That really does make a lot of sense. And I know that some of us possibly don't have a team, but you need to have at least that 1 or 2 other people that you can pass your post by, okay? Especially those that you kind of think a little bit controversial. in nature, I think it's really important to have somebody to just give you that second or third opinion. Okay. So actually, just want to ask a few questions from you, Andrew, especially regarding the cyberbullying and privacy online. Okay. So how does one ensure that they aren't getting toxic content online? Because especially with these days, it's difficult to really go through your social media platforms and not come across something that could be offensive or something that you do not agree with in terms of your beliefs. How could somebody prevent that from happening?
Well, first of all, you are in control of your feed. That's one thing that everybody has to realize. If I jumped onto your Facebook page, what you'll be seeing is not what I see on a daily basis. My lifestyle is different, and what I like is different. And so I can easily jump onto somebody's Facebook page and learn their character immediately by the number of videos and posts that start popping up. It shows a pattern. Okay, they look at screen time. How long do you hover over one thing? How fast do you scroll through others? How fast do you hit and like? Get used to using the hide feature. Never see this again. When you see something that's toxic and something you don't like, when you see a character posting stuff that you don't agree with, hit that unlike button, because, you don't want to get online every day and because of that one person, your whole day is ruined. Because of that one product that they keep on trying to push onto you, and, you have your whole day ruined. You can hit unlike. You can hit, unfollow certain characters. You can hit hide and learn who are these people that make you feel anxious. Don't follow people with fake lifestyles that make you feel very competitive. Don't follow people whose posts are negative, whose posts they appear to be hostile. Don't follow such people, because again, it's setting you up for, a long time ago, people never really concentrated on what people post online. But today, if you're going to hire someone and you had the privilege to look at the online content, what they post online, it kind of like paints a picture of who they really are. Are they always drinking? Do they have a sober attitude? Is it right for someone to look at that and maybe judge you? I don't know. That's up to the individual that's hiring. But then people do look at that. I mean, you already talked about LinkedIn, So to your LinkedIn profile, you add your Facebook profiles. Somebody can eat. The first thing you do when you hear of a scandalous activity going on is you Google someone's name, and it brings, and then you're like, oh yeah, you see, so this person's like that, because you're seeing kind of like that trend. So I hope I didn't derail a little bit too much from what you asked.
No, actually, that does make a lot of sense. I remember sometime last year, I told my colleague to say, today I'm just unfollowing all the pages that make me feel a type of way. I'd find myself being online on social media, but I'd feel sad. I'd see all these angry stories. I'd see all these pictures of wars and famines and the like. So I decided to just unfollow that. And it really did change. It did a lot of things for me, and my days became better, to be honest. Okay. So one other question, Andrew. If somebody, we're talking now, looking at the aspect of bullying, okay, we do have situations where somebody puts their opinion or comments on a post and somebody responds to them in a very nasty manner. How does somebody go about that situation? The people who, not everybody is kind online, that's the truth. So the things that they type, I call them keyboard warriors, can actually tend to be hurtful. But on the receiving end, what does somebody do to avoid that situation?
Well, it's trolling, right? We get trolled a lot, even as the US Embassy. If you go to our page, you'll find that not everybody agrees with what messages we are sending out. So it's kind of like the same thing. What we do is everybody's entitled to their opinion. So we're not going to go online and hide people's comments and delete people's comments. We'll leave them as they are and ignore them. But then we are an institution. So it's a little bit different. Whereas if somebody's it's a personal page, well, first of all, for starters, unfollow that person, unfriend them. If they're your friend, then they're not really your friend if they're posting inflammatory stuff about you. Okay? And then also try to keep a private life. You know, if you live your life on social media, well, guess what? Everything will be on social media. No matter what you do, the first thing people take it to is social media, because you've kind of like showed them that. There's so many people in the world, so many people in the country, but why is it that only that person is known for A, B, C, and D? Okay? So don't do hurtful things. That's kind of like, it's a rule. You're not going to walk. Same rule that applies in the streets. Same rule that applies in the roads. Wherever we are, in buildings, in institutions, should apply online. Okay? I don't go outside and start cursing everybody out. You know, I don't go outside and just start shouting at the top of my voice. I respect myself, and people will take it that way. So it's the same thing online. You as the first person, you sharing, you writing something about someone, do not post something hurtful. Do or say to others what you would like them say to you.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Andrew. I'll definitely take some of those tips with me and see who I can unfriend. But thank you so much for that. So, Andrew, as we come to the end of our topic or discussion today, what are just some of the key points that you can mention, especially regarding how we engage online?
Well, I'd like to, first of all, go back to what I said, that we all need to have a social media team. These don't have to be people that you pay. They don't have to be, these should be people that you trust, you know? It could be one person, it could be another, it could be someone working elsewhere, and you just say, can I bounce this off you for a little bit? You know, if you're going online, I know nowadays it's so easy to go online. It's just so easy to push the live button. And sometimes you'll find somebody's on Facebook Live with completely nothing going on. Okay? It's just him in the office, or him in the house, or her in the house. Anything can happen, mind you. Okay? And you will be held responsible for whatever it is that happens there. Certain things might happen that you have no control over, but then guess what? It's already too late and it's out there. So before we go online, do a draft of what you want to talk about and ask yourself if you should really talk about what you want to talk about. Do you have proof about the things you're going to say? Have you checked your facts? You know, it's really, really important that we should script ourselves. It's really important that we should check ourselves before we say stuff. Okay, those are kind of my points. Stay safe. Parents should not let children go online anyhow. Same here, as you know. So here's one thing that really bothers me sometimes on a personal level, is that people go online, influencers go online, and they talk about anything. Yeah, you do have the right to talk about anything, but bear in mind that there is no age filter on Facebook. Here we are speaking, you know, maybe it's 3 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and your phone is on speaker, and I say something inappropriate, and in the living room is your 4-year-old son, 5-year-old son that overhears that. Or maybe they're right above your shoulder and they see something inappropriate. You know, what have we fed that child that's going to go on and hurt them for the rest of their lives? So as people that as influencers, as marketers, let's mind. Somebody says, no, you know, this discussion only happens at 3 o'clock in the night, so all the kids are sleeping. But guess what? Tomorrow morning at 8, it still pops up on people's feeds, and it's going to pop up every time. You understand what I'm trying to say? So we really have to be careful about what we share, and we have to mind and be socially responsible for the stuff we share, and make the internet clean and safe for our children, and make it clean and safe for aunties, uncles, for everyone. Think about what you're posting. That photo of you at a pool party dressed inappropriately will come back and haunt you the day you try to stand for a political position.
Thank you so much, Andrew. And I think that's really enlightening. Many people don't see the consequences of what they do. And they also, maybe because social media is fairly new, we don't yet have that 30-year gap or generational arrangement. But in a couple of years, like you've mentioned, what we do online will definitely come haunt us or bless us. So it's really important that we know what we are doing online and to understand the consequences and the values of what we are doing online. Okay, so I'd just like to conclude on my end regarding the social media entrepreneurship end. The two main points I'd like to state out. Firstly, we always need to measure what we're doing. I think we touched up on this in the beginning when we talked about Facebook Insights, we talked about the demographics. It's really, really important to know why you're online, and you measuring that will help you understand if your online strategy or your online vision is working at the end of the day. Okay. The last point I'll talk about is learning your social media marketing. I mean, many people think you need to be a guru at this, you need to have done this for years, but I basically taught myself this as well. Many people don't know this, but I'm actually a scientist by profession. But I learned how to do this using platforms like YouTube, Allison courses, Coursera. All these I've mentioned are free platforms that people can access online and get to teach themselves about how to market their businesses using social media platforms. Okay. So I'd like to say thank you so much. I think I've had a great time today and I've learned so much from you, Andrew. Are there any last words that you'd like to say?
No, this has been an interesting discussion. Of course, stemming from the private sector for you and kind of like for the government sector for me. So I hope people have picked up one or two things. Again, we invite everybody else to share their experiences, comments, and don't take what we say as, we're not giving people what they should do or what they shouldn't do. We're sharing our experience. So feel free, share your experiences and tell us what works for you and what hasn't worked for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Andrew. And I think this brings us to the end today. And we look forward to seeing those comments and have a lovely day.